welcome back to the podcast. And today you're going to be so excited. We've actually been talking for an hour, dying already. So Danielle, can you please, introduce yourself? And the secret why I'm so excited is that, so I'm a fractional CFO. Danielle's a fractional CFO. We both serve law firms, which is why we've been chit chatting and we're best buds at this point in life. But welcome to the show. And Danielle, just tell us about your background and we can go from there. Welcome to your Profitable Law Firm podcast. I'm Kelley Brubaker, your dedicated host, passionate about empowering law firm owners. Let's dive into the hidden strategies that lead to overflowing profits, scaled growth, and thriving lives. And this is where overwhelm transforms into confidence, enabling you to create and enjoy your dream firm and your dream life.
Yeah. Okay. So I love starting this spiel because it's a spiel. I actually went to college to be a music major. I thought I was going to be an opera singer for the rest of my life. And then my English professor had us write all about the future of our career. And I realized I had zero friends in high places and I was going to be broke. But I did have friends in the business school, and hindsight being 2020, I worked in a bank. I did some basic accounting for some guys that had oil and gas interest. I had done math and accounting and those things. Should have known that was going to be where I needed to land, and it was where I landed. So got my master's in accounting, went to a public accounting firm here in the Houston area, did 4 to 5 years with them, got my CPA. I started a family and realized I did not want to be working 60-hour weeks and 3 different busy seasons with a newborn at home. So when I left public, again, Houston area, I landed at an oil and gas company. I worked my way up through the audit department to eventually running the audit department when they went through bankruptcy. And they came out the other side with the bankers slicing and dicing. And I was the one trying to make sure we could hold it all together, because when you are public, you have to stay compliant. And I would get the phone call from the controller saying, "Hey, we've got one person left. How do you want us to do this now?" So we made and remade processes and controls for 2 years. And then the pandemic hit. And it was really obvious the doors were going to close at that point. So while I knew that chapter was ending, I also realized, and I want to say, I never want to take away from what anyone has gone through during that time. I know there was some really rough stuff, but I think we can all agree there was a silver lining in the fact that the US slowed down in a way that I don't think we ever have. And for this mom, it was a completely different perspective of parenting. All of the things that I was honestly hiring a nanny to do were now on me. I was getting to know the friends and the coaches and the teachers and the parents of the friends. And I realized I didn't want to give that up. There had to be a way to be with my family in the way that I wanted to be present, but also do what I'm really good at and what I love doing. And that is what launched Four Corners CFO. I wanted to find a way to bring all of these really big business concepts to small business owners in a format that fit their budget and also made sense to them. I try not to speak any accounting lingo when I'm talking with people, because they don't need to know what that means. They just need to know what I'm trying to say in plain English. So Four Corners CFO launched. We just happened to kind of land in the law firm space. I think, I could be wrong, I think attorneys and accountants have a lot in common in how we came up through this hustle hard, play hard firm mentality. And at least for the clients I work with, we are all trying to buck off that mentality and create something new where people can be people and also be really good at what they do.
Yeah. And I mean, similar thoughts about the pandemic. It sucked, but life went back to, I grew up, my dad was a fireman and my mom worked part-time retail, and she didn't even start working until my youngest brother was in, kindergarten. So, stay at home mom for a couple of years. And, and I felt like as soon as the pandemic hit, I was like, God, I feel like I'm back in the 80s. Everything's slow, which is great. This is awesome, but it wasn't awesome, right? But no, and I have a similar, I didn't pick serving law firms. It just started with one client who introduced me to another client and it just kind of spread. And then I had a business coach and I was complaining like my website sucks. Don't know what to post on LinkedIn. I don't know what to blog about. And she's like, you need to niche. I'm like, no, 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 that's not the answer. She's like, no, 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 it is because you can create a person. And I do. I have Jake Bergantz from A Time to Kill, my Matthew McConaughey. I love him. And so he's like my avatar, my ideal client. I like he's, the grit, the family man, the do the right thing, like all that, right?
Yes.
And he's my ideal client. So whenever I sit down to write a LinkedIn post or a blog or any of that, I think of him. But it was one of those things where she just kept pushing me, my coach, and I'm like, I'm not making this decision. And I said, I can decide that I want it to be services. I'm horrible with inventory, horrible with manufacturing. And she goes, just look at your current client list. And I look at, I'm like, oh my God, 80% are law firms. She's like, yeah, thank you. You're like, at this point, you're just done. And by that point, I could talk the lingo and, and at one point, so for about 6 years, I sublet office space from a law firm that was a client because I was already there. So I was there so much anyways. I would go there, and this is back like before the pandemic where all my clients were local. I would go, and this was large enough firm, I'd have to go 3 days a week just to print checks. So all the court filings, all the things.
Yep.
I'm like, yes, 25-cent check for a recording fee. It costs more to write the check. Yep. But I was there 3 days a week and they're like, you can just have that office. And so I just sublet from them and that it worked out really well. But,
and then you started absorbing osmosis attorney language.
Yeah, because I would be sitting in the office and you'd get this email that would come around and it would say, hey, we have a depot in the conference room. So, tomorrow, so make sure you're wearing professional. Because if nobody was coming in, you could wear jeans any day. Like it was that casual. And this was pre-pandemic. It was a pretty casual firm, which was great. But on the days you knew visitors were coming in, like professional dress, not suits, but just, not jeans. Who are, business casual. So you'd get all that, but then somebody would come back from court with a big win and, everybody's partying like, so great. So I just immersed in that whole thing. And, so it's nice now when I'm sitting down with a lawyer and, and I'll have somebody, occasionally I'll have a call with somebody who doesn't know me. And they'll say, oh, so-and-so, I saw a LinkedIn post or something, just want to reach out. And they'll start asking me questions. And I'm like, yes, I know the lingo. I can talk your language. And then it kind of puts people at ease. And I mean, so I was very resistant to niche in any industry, but now I'm so glad I did because I feel so like, I don't want to say welcomed, but like comfortable. Like I can hold my own.
I mean, I feel like business owner to business owner, we're all building firms of some kind. And while you're practicing law and I'm practicing finance, it might be different things, but there's a lot of similarities, business owner to business owner, and building that firm environment. And like I said, trying to get rid of that hustle hard, play hard, burnout culture.
Absolutely. And yeah, and you're right. I see where law firms, accounting firms, similar goals. And honestly, so many of us want the personal life that, which is really why we have the firm. I mean,
and it's so easy for both of us to get sucked into the practitioner side.
Yes. And just the dilemma of trying to serve clients and manage a business. I get it. It is a struggle and it doesn't need to be. And so I'm just glad. So we met because there's a couple different groups that meet and we're virtual because I'm in, Cleveland, Ohio, and you're in Houston. But there's a couple virtual groups that we're part of. And Danielle sends me a little, private message like, I think you asked me about my Profit First book or something. And so I'm like, oh, because it was one of my first meetings in the group. I'm sitting there like typical accountant. If I don't say anything, they don't know I'm here.
See, and I'm like, I'm
You
gonna
know,
be the outgoing accountant and we're gonna message everybody.
so then I'm in the DMs and I got to a point I don't even know what we were talking about in the group because we're just DMing back and forth. And one of those like, can we just take this offline? So we've had a couple of offline meetings and we just sit and talk for hours and like very, very much common experiences and common struggles. So, things that we can commiserate and support each other. And I just thought it'd be a great idea to be able to bring you onto the podcast. And, I struggle because so many people will say to me, if they know me as a CPA, they're like, you're not a typical CPA. And if I'm on my PTA stuff at school with my kids, they're like, you're a CPA? Wait, I'm not Skeeta. And I'm like, there's a lot of us out there. There really are. And so, which is probably a big reason why I have my podcast. We're coming up on 3 years. And I like that it's a way that you kind of get to know us personally as much as you can, on a recording, right? But I just like that we're real people. We're here to talk and we're here to support people. And so we were kind of brainstorming about different topics. And I know I'm going to butcher this, but
Do you want me to do it?
like, I wrote it down and I'm still looking at like what I wrote. I'm like, I still don't think that's right. So this is what we're going to talk about today. You introduce it. Go.
We want to talk about how burnout will kill a business just as fast as bankruptcy.
Yes. And this is something I've never put it that way. But I think about it. And so let's dive into that. So why do you say that? I mean, I like the reference to bankruptcy because that is in your face. And I think whether an attorney practices, if they're a bankruptcy attorney or not, they understand it. Any attorney is going to understand bankruptcy, right? So it's very relatable. And so let's talk about that. So explain more.
So a couple of different angles here. The reason I love that topic is because as attorneys, every firm I work with at least is very passion-centered, passion-oriented. Don't get me wrong, they're doing it for the money, but they're also doing it because they love the people they serve. And similar to what we just said a minute ago, as a firm owner, it is really easy to hang a shingle and be a practitioner and practice your tail off and not actually run a business and just burn yourself out right into the ground. And that is going to end your business, whether for health reasons or you're tired of it or every other form of burnout, just as fast as running out of money in your bank account will. Because if you no longer have the energy to do what you're doing, you're going to stop doing it. I have literally had calls with business owners stuck in that gap. And they're like, I could go make more money as an attorney.
Yeah. And I know I've had the same conversation with people. They'll commiserate with me. I would make more money if I were at a different firm. And I'm like, okay, but wait a minute. You would if you worked in big law. Now I worked at KPMG. I was in big four audit, right? And it was that grind. Like it's the same as big law. It's that grind.
The grind.
And I barely made it a decade and it crushed me. And so, yes, I could make more money if I go back to big four, but I'm not going to have the life that I have now. I mean, I'm a single mom and I work from home. So I'm a PTA person. Like I'm an officer. I've been an officer and a PTA at every building we've been in. My oldest is in, she's a senior in high school this year. And so, I've got 13 years of I on the fly. Hey, I need help with that at school. And I'm like dropping everything and running. And I love that I have that flexibility with my business. Now, it also means that I'm working late nights, I'm working weekends by my choice because I don't have a boss breathing down my neck saying 8 to 5, which is why I left my last job. I went to corporate. I was CFO of a bank, actually left there to go to a bigger bank, not a CFO, but as an assistant to the CFO, all the projects, all the things he couldn't get done during the day.
Yeah.
That's what. But I'm like, why? But I had to be in my desk. Our office hours were 8:30 to 5. I'm not a morning person. I struggled to make it. I actually got to the point I started taking the bus because I live 20 miles south of Cleveland. I would take the bus because if I missed that one bus, I was definitely late to work. But if I took the one, like there was a bus and tore out, it only comes once an hour. So I had to hit that certain bus. And so I'm like, okay, if I can just get to the bus and then I can sleep on the bus. Yep. And one of my coworkers in my department was on my bus. So I always knew that she would nudge me if I was still asleep. And but I would drop me off a block from my office and I could walk over, and then it forced me to leave because the bus came home once an hour at 5, 6, 7, right? And I almost missed the last I think it went till like maybe 9 o'clock. And there was a time I almost missed the bus. And this is before Uber. I would have had to take a taxi, which probably would have been $200.
Oh my goodness. And that's where, so when lawyers say that to me, when law firm owners say that to me, what it really tells me is you have to learn how to be a business owner, not just an attorney. And I think, so the other thing that we were talking about before this is like what makes a CFO and what is a CFO. And that's exactly where we get to step in. There are a ton of different types of CFOs, but the kind of CFO that you get out of Kelley or I is the one that's going to partner with you and be almost as much of a coach and an accountability partner as we are a finance person. Because back to what we were saying about burnout and bankruptcy, if you aren't taking care of yourself, and I don't just mean hours and work-life balance, but like you've got to be making enough money. You have to be building a sustainable firm as a business owner and taking care of yourself. And my job as a CFO is to make sure you're doing that, because far too many people will go hang that shingle and they know how to practice law and they end up not taking care of themselves, not building the financial structure, not setting things up so that they can hire somebody else to do the work. And like I said, it leads straight to that burnout. You may not go into bankruptcy because you're not paying anybody else, but you will burn out and quit doing stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. I try to explain, because people ask me, what do I do? And I'm like, it's kind of hard to describe, but I try to say, think of me as a silent, not equity partner in your business, or the not silent, not equity partner in your business. So I have no equity, no ownership in your firm, but I'm going to be there right there with you. And I'm going to be in your ear about cash is low, or it's time to hire another staff person. Is this software working for you? Is that, those are the things.
Or like, time out. We agreed you were going to spend what on meals, and now hold on.
I actually, like, knock on wood, my desk is wood. I think this last year, every client I work with, meals is not out of control. Like, that's probably the first time and I've been working with small businesses for over 20 years. And normally that is the very first line. I'll look at a P&L and go right down to meals. And I'm like, oh my God, what were you doing?
I don't love them, just like accountants. We all like our line and dine. But I do have to remind a couple of our owners that is basically owner's comp at this point.
Right. Well, and my thing is, I'm definitely, and I'm pretty sure you're the same. It's all about the lifestyle you want. So honestly, eat at McDonald's, eat at, Ruth Chris or whatever. I don't care. I really don't. And I'm not like, there's no commentary on where you're eating. I really don't care. My thing is, if you're spending, 20% of your income on meals, I need receipts that are saying, I went to whatever it is, even if you ate at McDonald's 4 times a day or 3 times a day, I need to know. There needs to be a receipt, who were you with and what business were you discussing? And now I'm not doing tax returns, but I want to give comfort to your tax person that yes, those are legit. There are receipts. Those were all business meetings. And there are times it really is legit. It really is.
Yes.
And it's not judgment about what you're doing, but
we just want you to be sensible.
Exactly. I want to make sure that, because even though if you get picked for an audit, your tax person's the first call, I'm the second call.
And there's another reason I don't do bookkeeping.
Yes. And so, and that, and maybe I might be the first call, but I'm going to defer and say, go to the tax person first. But then that person's going to call me and say, hey, you promised me this was legit. I'm like, no, we're all good. But, but because I came at it from an audit background. So when I'm looking at numbers, definitely no judgment what you're spending on. It's all, I'm sitting here thinking constantly, is this legit? Is this a business? Like, what's the business purpose? I mean, I've had clients over the years that'll say, hey, I just bought makeup. I'm like, mm-mm.
I wish, been there, done that.
Like, no.
Sorry.
Oh my God. I had a client, and this was not a law firm. This is before I niched into legal, and I can't even remember what her business was, but she went on some trip. She ended up going on a trip. It was a vacation, decided to go to a conference that she found out was in that town, needed a bikini. I'm like, why do I have a receipt for a bikini? She's like, well, I was at the pool.
I love that. I love that for her, but not tax deductible.
It's true. You looked amazing in this bikini, but I cannot see, like, I could not convince your tax person that this is a legit taxable business deduction.
But the other side that maybe people don't realize you get with a really good CFO, especially those of us that do have CPA backgrounds and have dabbled in the side of tax, though I don't ever want to keep up with the details. We know enough about it to help you make some of those decisions and ask the right questions. We're here to soundboard with. It's my favorite tax deduction is putting my kids on payroll, and I will throw that out there all day long to everybody I know. And I know it's one that everybody touts, but it's easily defensible.
Absolutely. It is absolutely defensible. Yeah. And those are the things, like, I'll tell people, yeah, okay, at some point in the middle of my
I
career,
mean, your
I did
2-year-old,
tax
maybe
prep,
not, but
no, that's just it. With anything, don't take advice on the internet. And
disclaimer, we are both
CPAs,
CPAs, but we are not giving tax advice.
We're not your CPA. So disclaimer, I need to put a disclaimer above on the video, like, do not take this as tax advice. But it's getting the ideas of, hey, so yeah, I will tell clients, hey, talk to your tax person about this. Or, if somebody asks me, hey, I want to buy a car, should it be in the business name? And I'll say, okay, here, I'm not going to give you an official answer. Here's the things I'm going to prep you. And these are why. These are why, because yes, your buddy down the street did it. Doesn't mean it's legit for you, because maybe, your buddy down the street has a pest control business and he has to have a certain truck or a van to go to all the places
Or they
to
don't
do the
have the
service,
best
right?
advice, because I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you my personal horror story. I've always done our taxes, and my husband was like, can we just get like an outside perspective? All his friends were getting all this money back. And I'm like, okay, I will accept. I'm risk averse, and we can get them to do our taxes. We got the same company that they were using to do our taxes. They know I'm a CPA. It goes like, they knew this.
Right.
Sent me the tax filing, and it was straight up fraudulent. My kids were in a daycare I'd never heard of. They put a bunch of asset depreciation on there that I was like, oh, wow. No, we are not filing this, and I am not paying you for this. It was wild. So be careful who you go to. So when we're telling you we don't think it's a reasonable thing, it's because we really don't want you to get in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. And I try to tell people, tax is just not my jam. I can't keep up with it. I don't love taxes. I don't want to keep up with it. The tax code changes constantly.
And my
But I keep up enough.
constantly.
Oh, it's constant. I mean, it's just constant. And but I keep up with it enough that if I see something, or if you ask me certain questions, or we talk about different things, I can say, hey, there's a potential, there's tax consequences to this. And which is the answer for most conversations. But sometimes it's, hey, I have some extra money. So like somebody in PI settles a big case, right?
Right at the end of the year, got to get that cash out the door.
Like, the money comes in, and then you're like, oh my God, what do I do with it? Because I didn't plan for this. Now I'm going to have a big tax bill. And so we can talk through different things, but I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to give you a draft of bullet points. And then you need to contact your tax person, because here's the thing. even though I'm a CFO for your firm and I may be doing your bookkeeping for your firm, I know nothing about your personal, which could be completely different. And I don't know about you, but I know I have some clients who may be landlords, own rental, either
Mhm.
commercial or residential, or have joint ventures with other people. I mean, I have one client that I know nothing. I know this much. Like I work this much with him compared to all the business ventures.
Wow.
And just because I know a little bit more about him outside of our relationship working wise. And I'm like, there's just so much. So I can tell you an answer based on what I narrowly know about you, but I don't know what your wife does or your husband. They may not even work. I don't know. So if you have a spouse that doesn't work and your kids are in daycare, you can't deduct daycare because both spouses have to have earned income. I mean, it's things like that
Yeah.
I could give you a completely wrong answer because I don't have your total. That's
The
why
full
you need to go to your
context.
tax person, right? So, and
Throwing our
I,
disclaimer
have
out there
other,
again.
right, not tax advice,
I
but
do
yeah,
say all of that because in that burnout part of it, yes, some of it's the work, some of it's the hours. The other part is that invisible mental load because you're not meant to carry it all. And having somebody to soundboard with and run ideas by, and hey, I had this thing, or can we do this, or how do we do that? That is exactly what a CFO is here for. It's not just budgets and cash flow and strategy, it's thinking through the problem and the outcome and the solution.
yeah. And you're right. I don't love talking about numbers, but numbers to me are a source of truth. As long as you have valid numbers, because we've had the conversations about if you have crap numbers, you're going to get a crap answer. But so if you have valid numbers, that helps guide a decision. So now you're not just running on vibes. But, you know, but I would rather talk about, hey, what could happen if I take on a new practice area? If I open an office in a new city, what would that look like? And it will come back. But I like the possibilities. I like the support. I will often say, I'm supporting you because I can't support some practice areas. You are dealing with people in the very worst moments of their entire lives. And I'm divorced. I had an attorney through that. I mean, and it was horrible. And, not that I went in, I wasn't paying her to sit and listen to me cry. It's the whole thing
I
right
mean,
there.
maybe a little bit.
But there was definitely some gruntle, do I have to deal with this? Oh, but you're dealing in the most part, and not every practice area. I mean, some practice areas, like corporate, mergers might be, mergers and acquisitions might be a little bit different, but most of the firms I deal with, are, helping people
They're
through
passionate
some of the
people.
most stressful, exactly, just the most stressful, even if it's immigration, it might not be a bad moment in their lives, but it's very stressful
Yeah.
because of everything going on, right? And so I'm just here to help you be better in your business. I want you to have more money in your bank account. I want, just how you were talking, sustainable. I want you to have a
Yeah.
sustainable firm. I want it to be here a year, 5 years, 10 years from now. As long as you want the firm to be around, I want you to have that. So I want to do the things. I'll say often, I'm the GPS. You get in the car and you're like, hey kids, we're gonna go on vacation, let's go to Disney World. And you type it in the GPS and you hit, you just turn on the car and you go. But GPS is constantly saying, hey, get off on the next exit. There's, construction ahead, or there's an accident, or somebody needs a potty break. You're like, oh, where's the
Off, even though GPS said not to, and then we got to get back on track.
exactly. It's the constant navigating back to the goal. Disney World's still the goal. That's your destination. So how do we get back? We got off track and it's fine. Detours happen, but let's get back on track. Or did you get almost all the way there and decide, no, I'd rather go to Tampa?
I was going to say, and let's say sometimes the goal changes. And that is the whole
Yes.
purpose of us having those living, breathing, moving budgets. I cannot stand when I hear somebody that does accounting and finance talk about setting a budget and just like, that's not how life works, especially in small business.
No.
That is not how life works.
And I don't like budgets. I'll put together a budget if somebody asks, but I'm like,
I
I'd
live
rather,
and
I
die
lean
by
on
it,
God first.
Kelley. Oh my gosh. I will say we prep everything. The clients don't have to do any of it. And it's a living budget. It's a, hey, okay, so for those of you that feel like Kelley and budgets have a negative connotation to them, the goal of a budget is not to actually hit your budget. The goal of a budget is to set a baseline so we can figure out why things are above or below. Because when you figure out why, there's a story there that helps you better understand your firm.
No, absolutely. I completely agree, which is kind of why I lean on profit first, because it's more about flexibility. It is a pseudo budget, but it's just a different way to look at it and manage it. But you're right. I guess I get frustrated because like when I worked in a corporate world, budgets were everything. We lived and breathed by this budget. And then nobody wanted to change it. I'm like, oh my God, it was
And
done
that's
6
what
months
kills.
ago.
I live and breathe by the budget. And I will be honest, I talked to one of my clients yesterday and she told me she doesn't even look at the reports, but I did. So it's okay. We can make decisions.
Right. I do like the budget's there to be able to guide you. I mean, it's a real right. And so because I have a handful of clients and I have one that I owe them their budget for this year. That, just because they need to know, hey, is my payroll too much? Am I on track for revenue? Am I because they have to hit a certain revenue to know that their expenses are covered for the rest of the year. And, it's something that we did. I'm only doing it mid-year because we started the year and we already knew the budget was completely, it was bad. But we did it based on what we knew. And that's the problem with the budget. What you do today is only good with the information as of today. It's going to change. So,
which is why we run those budget to actuals every month. And I'm like, okay, you didn't tell me you were investing in a new software, but we saw XYZ pop up. Is that a monthly?
Right. And I try to focus more on like a 13-week forecast. So cash flow, what's coming in, what's going out. But you're right. So that's the beauty is there's so many different tools that help. And it's whatever you find that fits, that works best with how you're running your firm. So we can sit and talk for hours. I mean, and we have actually.
We're totally guilty of the never-ending networking conversation.
Right. But I know we both have calls coming up with other people that are not us, sadly, because I could just hear for her. But so let's talk about, so you have a quiz on your website and I love this idea. I have tried and failed at this. So I'm just jealous that you did it, made it happen.
Send them all my way and they can bring you back the notes and give you the numbers.
No, but seriously, I did not fill it out, but I at least went to the first page and I'm like, oh yeah, this is a good deal. So it's called, well, I know behind the scenes, it's called How Much Money You're Leaving on the Table. Right. And so just talk through, and don't have to write down the link, but we will put the link in the show notes. You can just click it and it'll go there, but talk about what would you use that for? What information would they put in and what would they get out of it?
The biggest thing that we've noticed with our law firm clients is the ones that are afraid to price higher, or they don't realize that their flat fees are losing them money, or they're not fully utilizing or maximizing their team. So half of this quiz is built on all that statistical data from Clio and all the big guys that gather it to figure out how much money could your firm actually be making based on the structure that you have. How many people are billable? Is it partners, associates, paralegals? What does it look like? Very easy stuff for you to put in. The other half of the quiz does require that you go look at your books or at least have a gut instinct of them so that you can input some of those high level expenses. How much are you spending on rent? How much are you spending on payroll? How much are you spending on all of your software? Because software is really expensive for law firms. And then we benchmark those against averages that you should be spending, because the goal of every law firm is to hit that 3/3 model. And I'll explain that because I actually had one ask me. I thought everybody knew this, but you should spend about 1/3 of your revenue on your people, your revenue generating cost, not your admin support team, but your billable people. Then you should spend another third of it on all of the operating expenses, rent, cell phone, admin people, software. And that last third is meant to be your profit. So we want to make sure that we're lining everything up to that. And you will get a full breakdown, all the details, if this, then that. You don't even have to put in your email if you don't want to. An email will send you an email to summarize it instead of what pops up on the screen. But the goal is to really understand how much money you could be leaving on the table if your team was fully utilized, your flat fees were efficient, and you're pricing appropriately.
Yeah. And I love all that. And I talk about the rule of thirds too. I mean, it's something I'm sure I read about it, but it's something I've talked about for years with small business owners. And it's one of those like light bulb moments for some people, like,
No,
oh, I don't have to price that I break even, that I have
no, that's how you stay
like no
in
need
or burnout mode.
Yes. We want you to make money. Do not feel guilty about making a profit. Profit. That's why I like profit first. The idea of paying yourself first. It's not greed.
No,
It's
and I will
you
say
have to
this.
sustain yourself. Yeah.
I've quite literally said this to a client that did not want to raise her prices. And I said, when you raise your prices, you can now afford to discount or pro bono for the people that really deserve it. Because the other people that can pay your prices are going to pay it. And you know the people that really need your help and can't. And now you get to consciously decide to give them a discount or pro bono the work. And that feels really good as a business owner.
Absolutely, it does. I completely agree. So, okay. So I know we have to get off here, but I will include the link to the quiz. It'll be in the show notes. And I'll also include the best ways to get in touch with you. Because I know you said not LinkedIn.
I mean, I'm on there, but you may get my
Right.
marketing manager.
But yes, I understand completely. So we'll get your best contact information and we'll get it in the show notes so that those that are listening or watching along can go ahead and reach out to you. Cause I can't support you enough. I mean, I love what you do, which is what I do, but we come at it from different ways and there's other people like us that you can
Yeah.
sit and actually have real conversations with. And that's the thing. I just want to encourage the law firm owners, find the right person that will help you talk numbers, talk money, that you're not going through, blindly. Let's get a roadmap put in place for you. So thank you so much, Danielle. I've had so much fun today. My cheeks hurt from laughing, which is always good, right? But have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelley.
If you are listening to this podcast episode and you're thinking, I know I need to understand my numbers in my law firm better, but I'm just not ready for CFO support. That's exactly why I created a program called Profit Strong 90. Now, Profit Strong 90 is a structured 90-day course designed specifically for law firm owners who want financial clarity without the overwhelm. So inside this course, you're going to learn how to understand your profit and loss without feeling intimidated, identify where profit is leaking from your firm, improve cash flow predictability, build financial habits that support long-term growth, and make better decisions using real data instead of gut instincts. Now, this isn't theory. It is practical step-by-step guidance built around how law firms actually operate. If you want to feel more confident looking at your numbers, if you want to stop guessing, and if you want to build a stronger financial foundation for your law firm, I can't make this any better of an offer. It's free. Click the link in the show notes below to join Profit Strong 90. This is where clarity starts for you.